everyone, Grey Power 60 here. You saw in the beginning my cup, and of course I filled it up and I don't know what it is. I don't have a saucer for it, but I do have this white saucer that I use. I'm running out of teacups, so we'll have to start reusing. But this is a pretty little cup. I kind of like it. I just like the shape of it. Pretty. Anyway, so I hope everyone is well. I hope you've had a good weekend, and I just want to talk about a few things tonight. It's been playing on my mind for a little while, so I thought maybe I would sort of bring a little reality into this. Now, many of you are a lot younger than I am. A few of you are my age, roughly. And things happen when you get older with your parents. And if you're with a partner, you have your home, you have your children, and so on. It's a totally different scenario. So I just want to talk about my particular situation with Mom. And for those of you who have not seen any of my elder care series that I had done, there was a big learning curve for me, a big learning curve. And it was something that I felt very strongly about. When we had a family meeting, Mom had fallen, and she didn't break anything, thank goodness, but it was quite a serious fall. And she was looking after my stepfather at the time, and he, of course, had the beginnings of dementia or Alzheimer's. He has since passed. So Mom looked after him for about 4 years, with him being at that initial stage. And Mom was, she found it difficult sometimes, but she used to get bored, so I would call her up and say, come on, let's go out, and the three of us would go out. Mom was still driving. She was still herself. No dementia at the time. Perhaps a little forgetfulness in her old age, but we're talking early 80s. We're talking she was 80, roughly, 78, something like that, when David started to decline. I'm going to try not to make this too long. So as it turned out, it got to the point where David's children, who were his designated power of attorney for care and finances and so on, brought in help for Mom with David. But then when Mom fell, this became difficult because she needed to be in convalescent care. And while she was in convalescent care, and my mom's steady on her feet, totally steady on her feet. But while she was in convalescent care, they were together. Mom hated it. She hated the whole idea of being in, it was a retirement facility, actually. Mom didn't need a nurse to care for her, but she needed to be restful. She needed to rest. And as it turned out, she hated it. We had a family meeting, and I told David's children, grown adults, that Mom could no longer look after David, and that they would need to place him in care. He did require care. He He required help with, he had trouble speaking. He got to the point where he could put out one or two words. I know he wanted to say things, but the connection was just not there anymore. So, trying to make this a long story short, and it's not, I told them I was going to take Mom and come to live with me, and that David would have to go into a retirement, assisted living of some sort. So they wanted Mom and David to stay together and be in a retirement home or a nursing facility. My mom did not require it. After her second fall, while she was convalescing, she could no longer drive, and so I took over that. And through a little bit of arguments with my stepfather's side of the family, I insisted. Regardless, they tried to talk me out of it. They tried to say, you know, it's difficult, it's hard, and, you know, all of these things. They tried to talk me out of it, to say that Mom should go into a retirement home, a retirement facility, and stay with David. And that was just not going to happen, because Mom was definitely, the fall had almost triggered her dementia to become more advanced. So instead of just being forgetful like we all are, Mom became sometimes confused. But she still was, you know, the very, very early stages of dementia. Mom has now progressed to the mid-stage. And you'd really have to look it up and to figure out the different stages. There's sort of the beginning, you know, sort of the beginning, the middle, and then advanced. And advanced would be where she would not know who I am, she could not care for herself, all of those things. So Mom is kind of at the end of the first stage and beginning of the middle, because Mom can still wash herself. She could still, although at her age she tends to make the same thing over and over again. She has tea and toast for breakfast instead of having, you know, that's why I try to make sure all her other meals, you know, are healthy, because she eats early in the morning before I get up. So, anyway, Mom came to live with me. Now, this is a totally different situation than younger people who have jobs, responsibilities with they have children still at home, they have husbands, they have their home, their jobs, and all of those, they've got their life going on. To bring your parent into your home is a totally different situation than someone who is already a senior citizen themselves and living alone. I lived alone for many, many, many years, very independent, come and go as I please, stayed up late, went to bed early, and all of those things. Regardless of, I knew my mom would hated the retirement facility that she was at when she was convalescing. We tried to encourage it. We tried to give her a little bit of time. After 3 days of her crying, I said, that's it. That's it. She's got to come home with me. And we went through a lot in the first year of being together. It was a bigger bite than I realized, and living alone and independent, coming and going, being quiet all the time, not really conversing during the day, doing a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of solitude. I had a lot of solitude. So for me to open up again was very, very difficult, because it would have been the same if I had found a boyfriend and we lived together. You know, there would have been the same kinds of things when you have a physical person move in with you when you're not used to having someone around. It's getting used to them, their personality, their habits. They getting used to you and your habits and your personality, you know. And I found myself sometimes being angry with my mom. Not the first few months, but as time went on, a strange thing came over me, and it was something I'm not proud of, but I resented my early years with my mom. I was angry with her for some of the ways I was raised, or the way things were between us. Mom was always loving. Don't get me wrong. Mom was always a loving person. I think I just had a demanding personality, even though I was shy and quiet. But I think one of the problems was I felt let down at times. Even though she said she loved us, and even though, you know, there was always support, not really support, but she was my mom, and she was a working mom. So I had a lot of pent up, I talked to my doctor about this, I had a lot of pent up disappointments and anger inside that I had to work through. I had to work through all of those things. And I had to learn to love my mom again. And the funny thing is, I do love my mom. And I love her for who she is now. And I love that she can be silly sometimes. She can be wicked sometimes. A lot like her mother. My grandmother lived to be 92, but I remember she was two sides of a coin. She could be laughing and giggling and having fun, and the flip side of the coin, she could be angry and wicked and hurtful and say things, because I'm sure in her own life she had angers and things that were built up in her life. So I equate the time that Mom and I adjusted to the time, maybe today is not the same, but when you first get married, if you've never lived with your partner, you've dated, you love each other, of course, you know, whatever, you get married, and then you're living together. Even if you're not married and you decide to live together, those are two personalities, and even though you love each other, you know, there's compromises, there's issues that you have to work through, and all of these things. And basically that's the same thing Mom and I had to go through. And it was really stressful for me, and I didn't realize how stressful it was until I went through it, and now I'm on the other side of it. And I found that she had to get used to me, because she was always used to looking after somebody. She was always used to being useful. And I'm sure that Mom found it difficult in her memory loss. I think she found it difficult to adjust. And that whole change in Mom, from her independent self and looking after her husband and looking after everybody, to being looked after. She likes it. She likes being looked after. She likes being spoiled. And but it was hard for her to adjust to losing her memory, to being forgetful, and she used to get angry. She used to get very angry about things, and I didn't know. I thought it was anger at me, and I was taking it personally. So that whole adjustment was difficult, and I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of research, talking to my sister-in-law who deals with my brother who has Alzheimer's. I had a social worker that I did discuss things with, but mostly I talked to my doctor, who's a saint. She has just been brilliant. She's totally brilliant. But Mom is not at the stage where she requires assisted living. She doesn't require any of those things. And it was such a hard adjustment. But now I am not in the least bit shy to see my mother naked and helping her wash her back when she has a bath, do her hair. She loves it when I do her hair. She washes herself. She washes her own hair. She looks after herself. She still looks after all of those things. She's still functioning. She can, she can look after herself quite well. But she doesn't cook, except for toast and things like that. But she loves to clean the house. She loves to do those, which I love. I love the fact that Mom loves to, sweep around and clean. But it keeps her feeling active and feeling like she belongs and feels like she's contributing and feeling needed. And that's really important, feeling needed. At this stage, Mom has kind of gotten over the need to be needed. When we were first together, I didn't see it. I didn't see her need to be needed. Even though most times, Mom, if you want to clean that, you go right in. I had to constantly remind her this is her home as well as mine. It's not my home. It's her home and my home. And we got used to each other, and a lot of the anger that I had, the resentment, the disappointments of my youth, that I was quite surprised was even there, because I didn't know it was there. It was so deep, I didn't even know. But when you're living with someone, like as I moved in with Mom, or Mom moved in with me, we moved in together, I had these pent-up feelings. I talked to my daughter about it, that I didn't know I had. And I had to try and deal with it. And that was part of the stress between that and a lot of family deaths that we had, having my aunt stay with us for a month, all kinds of things. When my mom didn't know it was her sister, thought it was her cousin or a friend. There was those kind of things to deal with. But we got around it. We got around it. And then I got to know my mom. I got to know who she is now. The person that she is now is almost childlike. And in her childlike ways, she can have a very cute sense of humor. Now, there were times when Mom would forget something or not hear me or say something and get a little angry and get a little wicked in her voice, in her tone, and in her chosen words. And I would take it so personal, and I used to get angry with her, and I would say, why are you yelling at me? And then and she would get angry and go to her room, and she'd stay in there and she'd cry. And that was maybe the year before. Well, it was last year, I think. But now, we don't go through those bursts anymore, because we've gotten used to each other, and I've learned how to deal with it. I still get upset once in a while when she gets angry at something, at me, but she's really angry at herself, but she snaps at me, and I still, it hurts. I get upset, and I'll say to Mom, why are you mad at me? In a firm way, not angry, but in a firm way. Why are you mad at me? I'm not mad at you. I said, Mom, and I try and say it calmly, Mom, the way you talk to me hurt my feelings. And then I say, now let's forget about it. And you know, the funny thing is, it usually happens at bingo. Mom is now having trouble. If she sees the number, like 56, if she sees 56, sometimes she forgets whether it's under the B-I-N or G or O. Well, it's under the G. And she looks for it. And all I have to do now, because at first she didn't want me to show her. Now, she enjoys me showing. I'll point it to her, and, you know, and she's fine with that. But she does have trouble with her, you know, where the, you know, if I say it's in the middle row, Mom, she's fine. You know, so we've adjusted to these little things. And I found myself relaxing with Mom. I found myself loving her again, loving who she is, loving not who she was, but who she is today, loving her for her strength, for her sense of humor, for her forgetfulness. I mean, there are silly things that happen. One day I was looking for the dish soap and I couldn't find it. And I don't know if I told you this story. I've told so many. And I couldn't find it, and I said, oh, well, you know, and I had a bigger jar. Usually I fill one up a little bit and kind of put a little water in it, so that when she's doing the dishes, you know, she has it there. And I said, oh, well, never mind. And I went to make myself a cup of tea, went into the fridge, and there was the dish detergent in the fridge. And that was funny. And I just took it out, put it on the counter, because it's right beside the fridge, and it could have been, you know, sort of with things that were going to go in the fridge. That was comical. The other day, her phone was ringing, and I heard it, and I was in my room, and I went into Mom's room, and Mom said, I can't get this phone to work. I don't know what's going on. It keeps ringing. She had the remote control in her hand, and she was trying to say hello. Those are the fun things. And I just say, oh, here it is, Mom. And, you know, I don't want her to feel embarrassed. And I don't think she is anymore. I think she was at first with her slips. Now it's just comical. Now we just laugh together and just, you know, we just learned to love each other again. And this is the most important thing that I have learned through this, you know, living with Mom. And I am grateful that I have her. I am grateful that we can laugh together. We had a good day today, a long day, and I'm totally exhausted. As you know, I always film this the night before. So my grandson had I'm sorry, I'm going long again. My grandson had a play, my son's son. My daughter has 3 boys, and my son has one adopted, one from a previous, Joshua is from my daughter-in-law's previous relationship. So Justin is his son. And Justin, he is so much like his father, except he is more outgoing. My son was very shy when he was younger, a little chubby, as he, you know, got older, but he was very shy. But he was loving and he was sweet. And Justin is the same. He is loving and sweet. And oh my gosh, he gives my mom the biggest hugs. My mom loves it. She just loves kids. She loves babies. And she's always praising them, constantly praising them. And she's forgotten all the bad things that has happened in our family dynamics, where, there have been marital problems and anger and dislikes and stuff. Mom's totally forgotten. As far as she's concerned, my son is perfect. His wife is perfect. The kids are perfect. And that is the way to be. That is the way to be. So we had, Justin had a play at school, and we went today. Mom thoroughly enjoyed it. She loved listening to the kids. They were doing a play on the Gruffalo. I don't know if you know that book. There's a story about the Gruffalo. Anyway, they reenacted this story, and they all had made their own masks. And my grandson was so proud that we were there, and my mom loved it. My mom loved it. And I think in watching my mom love her family and love, even though sometimes I don't know if she knows who everybody is, like that my son is my son, and that my daughter is my daughter. I think that dynamic is kind of not sure in her mind, but she loves it when we go together. Go to my grandson's soccer games, sit in the rain, bundled all up, watching them play, watching the little one for his first time playing, my daughter's little one. Just started playing soccer. We went to his game, and it was fun, and my mother loves it, and she cheers them on, and it's really been a blessing lately. So we had a good day today. We went out today. I took her to the bingo today. She won a little money. We went and picked up a few things, and she just had a good day. And she came home thoroughly exhausted, thoroughly happy, and that's all that matters to me, is that Mom is happy, she's healthy, and she's enjoying me dragging her all over the place. And I don't mind. And people have often said to me, you have to look after yourself. And I think what happened to me is the adjustment was straining on me. But now that we have come to this place, we've come to this place of, I don't know, I can't explain it other than we've come to a comfortable place together where I know how to talk to her now. I've learned how to talk to Mom. I've learned how to encourage her to do things. I've learned her passions and the things she loves: watching golf on TV. She loves watching the news. I hate the news, but so I'll put the Golf Channel on for her, and she loves golf. She was an avid golfer. So in all of the struggles that we had in the first 2 years, this is the 4th year now that we've been together, we've finally come to compromises, and I've learned to love Mom again. And that's a funny thing to say, because I thought I always loved Mom, but I loved her differently. And now I love her for who she is today. And I appreciate, and I am so blessed to have her with me. And knock on wood, sorry I'm shaking things, but I hope she'll be with me for a few years, that we can do things together. One of the other things that people have said to me, do you take time out for yourself? I've been asked that many times. And the funny thing is I am a homebody. I always have been. I've always loved my home. I've always loved being at home. I love going out, but I love my home. I love the solitude of my home, the quietness of my home, to do what I want when I want. If I feel like meditating, if I feel like exercising, if I feel like reading, if I feel like playing on the computer, if I feel like chatting on the phone to someone, if I feel, whatever I feel like. But I'm home. If I wash the bathroom, clean the whole bathroom, that's what I like to do. I just like being at home. I'm not like my daughter. My daughter's total opposite. She goes cabin fever. Excuse me. She goes cabin fever when she has to be home all the time. She's very active, very physical. She goes to the gym. She plays soccer. They play hockey. She's a very active girl, a lot like her father. Whereas I am totally opposite. I can be at home for weeks. I mean, go out for a walk or something, and I'm quite happy. So I think that's why I'm okay having Mom with me, because I'm okay being at home. But once in a while, I'll see her in her face when I'm home for a bit, and I've been doing a lot of crafts and kind of leaving her on her own a little bit too much, maybe. I can see it in her face. And I'll say, come on, Mom, let's get dressed and we'll go for a drive. And sometimes we'll go to the store, and sometimes we'll go to Dollar Tree, sometimes we'll, go to the mall. Just something to get out of the house, just for her. And I recognize that now, where I couldn't before. I didn't see those things. And it's taken a while for us to become a family again. It's taken us a while. It's taking me as well as Mom. It's both of us, really, taken a while to get used to each other. This is who I am. I'm an older woman, over 65. I'm a pensioner. She is also over 65 and a pensioner. And sometimes we're set in our ways, and sometimes we need a little more understanding on both parts. And I think that's where Mom and I have come now to terms with who we are as people and who we are as human beings and family. And I have run on way too long, but I just wanted to let you know that living with Mom has brought blessings to me. It has opened up my eyes to some of my flaws and helped me learn some lessons. And I love my Mom very much. I want to thank you for joining me today. It was a bit of a long one, but I just wanted to share the experience of having my mom come and live with me after me living alone. It's a totally different thing for other people who have families and have their parents come and move in with them. Totally different dynamic, and I really don't have the experience or the knowledge to give advice for people like that. That would be something that they'd need to seek on their own. So my own personal experience of having my mom come and live with me is that I had to learn to love her again. I had to learn who she was. I had to learn what she liked, what she didn't like, and accept her for who she is. And hopefully she has accepted me for who I am. Long one today. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to share that. It was something that I've been thinking about for the past week, that I really love my mom. And it's a silly thing to say, but it surprised me. I mean, I've always loved my mom, but I really love my mom. You know what I mean? Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.